October 7th, 2024. $57.85. A couple of days after Rosh Hashanah, the day after, the evening after Tzom Gedalia. Folks, I'm just gonna, as if I hadn't said it before, I'm gonna say it again. And I'm gonna emphasize it. And I'm gonna say it, it's gonna sound like, when I say this, it's gonna sound like tzvi. Well, how do you know? Meaning, how do you know that this is definitively what this is? I don't know. I intuit. That's it. That's the best I can do for you. My friends, this whole situation that we're in, it, was from the very beginning, and it still is, a deeply spiritual situation. Meaning, everything that we see, in terms of geopolitics, current events, externally, with military movements and political machinations, those are all things that are, physical manifestations of a spiritual situation, spiritual state of being. And a lot of you folks can come and say, well, tzvi, like, obviously, yeah, everything is. No, I'm not talking, I'm not saying like, I'm not talking generally, and I'm not trying to be cute, I'm not trying to be, how should I put this, I'm not trying to be cliche, sometimes I say these things, and especially in front of even people who are who grew up religious, and people who are, Torah scholars and Talmidei Chachamim, and yeah, tzvi, of course, I'm like, no, you don't understand. It's not of course. It's like to the point where analyzing politics and analyzing military movements and analyzing anything to do with what's called derech hateva is literally stupid. Like, all the people that you read, even the people in the right wing, they're spinning their wheels. They're doing something that is pointless, and something that is it's not even that, not even futile. It's just pointless. It's not the story. With all due respect, people, I love Caroline Glick's analyses, for example, right? Or Mordechai Kedar, all this and that. And I could sit all day and analyze stuff, and I can pretty much say the same things they are saying, just not in as flowery words, and not as detailed, let's say, and dissected, and all that kind of stuff. But what I'm trying to say, guys, is that what they're doing doesn't tell you the actual story of what's going on, my friends. And the actual story of what's going on in this whole thing is the fact that it's not an accident that Hashem allowed this on a day like Simchat Torah and or Shemini Atzeret. It's not an accident, for example, that the people who perished in this are people who, again, guys, I hate to say this, October 7th, it's the irony of all ironies, guys. I think 19 years ago we pulled people from Gaza, Gush Katif. Think about this. We pulled religious people from Gaza. Religious people. Our government, which is lefty, pulled religious people from Gaza, and then we got Hamas. Hamas just basically they destroyed everything. we thought that they were gonna rebuild and build and use, the greenhouses and the farms and all stuff. Folks, they destroyed. Sorry, there's just an animal behind me. They destroyed everything, right? And then they proceeded to lob rockets at us. And so here's the kicker, guys. The Israeli government, I'm not going to say we, because we didn't do this, and I wasn't privy to this. Meaning, I wasn't in Israel at the time, and I wasn't an Israeli citizen at the time, and nobody asked me, even though I'm Jewish, right? There was no consensus vote, right? In Israel, they just went ahead and did this, right? So, they moved in a bunch of leftists, anti-religious leftists, folks, literal communists, to the border of Gaza, just outside of Gaza, right? To bear the brunt of the rockets that started coming after they moved religious Torah observant people, traditional people, out of Gaza. You understand the insanity of this, my friends? And this went on for like 19 years. And by the way, the commander at the time of the pullout of Gush Katif, of the evacuation, was none other than Aviv Kohavi. If you guys don't know who Aviv Kohavi is, he is the predecessor of the current Army Chief of Staff, Herzi Halevi, if I'm not mistaken. Aviv Kohavi was before him, just before him. So guys, this is a whole network of these people, and it's the same cast of characters, right? But that's again, we're going back into politics. My friends, the point is that this is a deeply spiritual situation. And so the people that ended up being I'm not going to call them victims, I'm going to call them sacrifices. They ended up being the sacrifices, the religious, literal religious, psychotic, not them, but the people who allowed this, sacrifices of the Gnostic fruitcakes that we have in Israel, my friends. People with Jewish last names, but they're anything but Jewish, right? Called the Erev Rav. And guys, you know my opinion about this whole situation. It's very strange. A lot of people finally admit that it's very strange. It starts at 7 o'clock. People don't, for the brunt mass of people, of defense, does not arrive until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You could say, yeah, there were guys down there in the morning, at certain parts of the morning, fine. But these are people who came there, so to speak, autonomously, on their own. They were not ordered to go there, as it were. They were called here and there and everywhere. But my friends, I was asking a friend of mine the other day, how long does it take to get from, by car, from Jerusalem down to that area, down to like Sderot, right? I don't know, 3 hours, 2.5 hours, let's say. It doesn't take 7 hours, guys. It doesn't take 7 hours. And there were calls on the radio all over the country. And if you look at the way Israel is able to operate in terms of military and intelligence and communications, guys, if you're telling me that, we were caught by surprise, so to speak, again, I don't want to rehash this, then you're selling me a bridge in Brooklyn, okay? What does it mean, guys? It means that this is a purely spiritual situation. This is something that obviously Hashem allowed and decreed last Rosh Hashanah. This was something that was literally committed, or the Erev Rav in Israel were, Hashem's pawns, as it were. The orcs came in from Gaza, and the most ironic thing, again, it was the very leftists who were allowed to live near Gaza who were the sacrifices of this, the human sacrifices. And my friends, there's still little children and families down there, and people, adults, children, in this hell. If they're even alive, I don't know. I hope they are. And, my friends, this whole situation, You know, a lot of people are writing, even today, October 7th, 2023, I was, how should I put this? This is them saying this, right? I was, like, comfortable with the world, or I was trusting of the world, and now I don't trust the world as much. My friends, if you, let me ask you a question. For those of you who say that, why would you trust the world on October 6th, 2023? In pre-October 7th, what made you trust the world? What scenario? You didn't pay attention to all the attacks that were happening in Israel before that? You weren't, I mean, it just seems like you weren't paying attention at all. That's the only conclusion I can draw, right? My friends, there are those of us, and I'm not saying it's to, put ourselves on the pedestal. There are those of us, some of us live outside of Israel, some of us lived in Israel. We have been paying attention very carefully, both in terms of what's been happening on the ground, but also spiritually. And we've been seeing and connecting all the dots in terms of all of the writings, even the most obscure writings that we have from our sages and our prophets and our over the centuries that talk about the arrival of Mashiach, right? And so, my friends, it's not an accident, for example, that there were 358 days between October 7th and then the elimination of Nasrallah, right? So 358, the Gematria 358 is Mashiach and Nachash, the snake, which actually has to do more with the incident, the tree incident, my friends, and the rectification for that. So guys, this whole thing has to do with Adam and Hava. It has to do with Mashiach, and it has to do with Erev Rav. And my friends, our sages tell us, the Zohar, that the thing that impedes, the entity that impedes the Mashiach from coming more than anything else is not Ishmael, it's not our cousins, it is the Erev Rav, the entity called the Erev Rav. They are the ones who impede. And we see that now. We see it to this day. Again, everything we're seeing with the so-called administration, and with Macron, and all these people, and all the protesters, and all the professors, and all the people on the internet who despise us, who finally shown themselves in the open as if we didn't see them before. Now they're more. Folks, these are all just manifestations of the Torah. What the Torah says. Esav Sonei Yaakov. We know that the last Galut, for example, is called the Galut of Ishmael, the exile of Ishmael. Why is it the exile of Ishmael? Because Ishmael is going to agitate the entire world. Ishmael, who was basically nobody for the brunt of many years, even if you include all the caliphates and all that kind of thing. It's the last Galut, my friends. And we know from our sages that Persia will agitate the world, and that Arabia will take counsel with Edom, which is Europe and America, and then the Jewish people won't know what to do. They'll fall on their faces and they'll say, what's going on? We don't know what to do. And then, Mashiach will arrive. So, my friends, I mean, you want to, analyze this from a political perspective, by all means, but it's the wrong angle, literally the wrong angle. It's the should I put this? It's just a very low resolution way of thinking about this whole thing, at best. And I say that with love, but it's a low resolution thinking. Political analysis, geopolitical analysis, military analysis. My friends, you're thinking in 3D. You're thinking in 3D. I'm asking you to think in, it's not even 4D or 5D. I'm asking you to think in extra dimensional. Because this is something, my friends, this is something extra dimensional right now, what's happening. Including all this stuff with the hurricanes, including all the stuff with the elections, including all the stuff with everything else we see with Diddy and Schmitty and all this stuff. My friends, it's all happening, I don't know if you notice, it's all happening simultaneously. It's the era of Emet. We have to know the Emet. The Emet cannot be hidden forever, right? Just like these people say, well, there's going to be investigations about what really happened on this day a year ago. No, there won't be. Again, somebody's selling you a bridge in Brooklyn. You know that, right? You feel it in your neshama. You know. You're just afraid to say it. You're afraid to admit it. Because admitting it, it's like, what does that mean? It means the whole system is bullshit, right? Pardon my language. And it is. And it is bullshit. My friends, what I just said for the past almost 17 minutes, probably wondering, Tzvi, man, how does your brain work? Meaning, not that you're marveling at how, in the way that it works, you're marveling that it works at all. I don't know. My brain works faster than my words, my mouth, way faster. And what I just expressed to you probably sounded more like like one of those brainstorms on a whiteboard, right? I apologize for that, but just a lot of thoughts, and they all come back to one thing. And the one thing is that this is a Mashiach situation, a Mashiach process, unveiling, unraveling before our eyes. I keep hearing people say, oh, this is if Israel does something, it's gonna be an escalation. My friends, can I tell you something? There's two things. One is, and I'm going to quote the leftists with their own words. If you want to get anything done, if you want to change anything in the world, I mean this kind of sarcastically, but also seriously, you have to escalate the situation. You have to create an escalation, right? You have to shake things up, right? With that said, my friends, I don't know if you noticed, anytime there's been, like proclamations that someone's going to escalate something, and that, if somebody does something, namely, let's say, Orange Man and Israel, that there's going to be World War III, what has happened? The elimination of whomever they wanted to eliminate, and no World War III. Folks, do you know when World War III happens, or how something like, God forbid, a World War III happens? Is if you let things fester and fester and fester, and then when they fester, you need to bring out the big guns and entire armies to battle each other to take care of the problems. If you don't let them fester, how do you not let them fester? You bring in, special forces, or a couple of jets, or a couple of ships, right? Or beepers, or pagers, or whatever, and you take care of the individual problem, right? For example, folks, Gaza, we let it fester. So because we let it fester, and on top of that, because we didn't send troops, a crack team literally to save these hostages, we had to send an entire army and create an entire giant war, to which it escalated into something else, into a regional thing, right? With that said, my friends, these people are talking about escalation. They are the masters of escalation. Whatever they do causes others to escalate, right? I'm talking about leftists and other fruitcakes and jihadists and Islamists, right? They are the provocateurs of escalation. And they say, don't escalate. Only we're allowed to escalate. You know? Notice how they had no problem escalating BLM riots, right? Burning down half the country. They have no problem with escalations. Because when they do it, it's, again, we don't have to talk about that, right? We understand. So, my friends, the only thing escalating here is the arrival of Mashiach. That's the only thing that's about to escalate in a serious way. And listen, we hope that it doesn't have to come to something bigger. We hope that we just, as a friend of mine likes to say, Israeli friend, take care of it. And we take care of it, and then the people of the countries or the country in this case, where the so-called leaders are subjugating the people, will on their own take necessary action, the necessary steps to do what they need to do. Just as in the story of Purim, right? Because this is the Purim story. This is the Purim story. This is the Mashiach story. This is the Hanukkah story. This is all the stories, guys. The Hanukkah story, how? Because we're fighting the Erev Rav. The Purim story, how? Because we're fighting Haman. The Mashiach story, because we see that we're almost there. The Pesach story, how? Because we see that Pharaoh is about to drown. That we're about to leave mental, psychological Mitzrayim. It's every story that we've ever had rolled into one. It's the reversal of Tisha B'Av. How? Because we are going to build a temple instead of destroy it. My friends, it's the story of every single solitary Jewish holiday we have put together. And it's happening before our eyes. So, the analysis of politics and, geopolitics and military, folks, waste of time. Focus on what is happening in terms of God's vantage point. Focus on Mashiach in the news. It's the only thing to look at. It's the only thing to see. Everything else is just, like gears inside of a big engine of a ship. You could write about how the gears move. Whoop-de-doo. I can do it too. I just did it. Half this video was about that, right? Just to give you context. But to actually know what fuels everything, what is the thing that's fueling the engine, and no, it's not money, and it's not oil, and it's not any of these things, guys. Again, that's a backdrop. Those are parts, moving parts of Hashem's machination, Hashem's plan. Like my friend Frank likes to say, in the end, Hashem, we don't know why he's doing the things that he's doing in the process. But we have to know that it is Hashem doing it. And we have to know that in the end, Hashem is going to get what he wants. And what he wants, just like we want it, for sure he wants it, is the Geula. The only question you have to ask yourselves, we have to ask ourselves, is why the hell is it taking so damn long? And why does it seem so boring and tragic, as my friend likes to say? But rest assured, guys, as Rabbi Kessin likes to say, the Geula is unstoppable and it's irrevocable. With that said, guys, may all of the victims, the unfortunate, horrible sacrifices that was done by the Erev Rav with the help of the orcs of Hamas, May all those Jewish people who went to Shemayim a year ago, may their neshamas have an aliyah. Technically speaking, I should say that. I should wait until Simchas Torah to say that, but I'm saying it kind of a little bit prematurely because it is October 7th on the secular calendar. And, very soon we're going to read about Gog and Magog on during Sukkot, during Shabbat of Sukkot. And, somebody told me that, a scholar told me, that really Gog and Magog happens on Rosh Hashanah Rabbah, which this year is October 23rd, even though we read about Gog and Magog on the 19th, and Rosh Hashanah Rabbah is the 23rd. And then Simchas Torah is the 24th. And that whole, Shemini Atzeret, 25th, if you're outside the land of Israel. If you're in the land of Israel, it's the 24th. So, my friends, we're so close we can taste it. I'm being serious. I'm not being cute. I'm not trying to be cute. I'm not trying to be cliche. I'm being literally serious. I'm as serious as Caroline Glick writing an article about geopolitics, guys. Probably more serious than her. The only difference is ain't nobody paying money to listen to people rant about Mashiach, We have politicians complaining, oh, these crazy messianics. My friends, these are the people that are impeding the Geulah. The politicians complaining most about the so-called crazy messianic, politicians and leaders are the ones who are impeding the Geulah, and they know the Geulah is coming, and they have to speak like this. Zat Hashem, guys. We're going to see the Emet, and we're going to see what we've been missing all these years, these centuries. Alright guys, talk to you soon.